Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. And yes, we are doing the back brakes on this Corolla now. Right, there's a couple of things you need to know with a lot of Toyotas. You have a caliper and you have, inside the disc, you have shoes. The shoes are for the handbrake and the calipers are for the foot pedal. And there is a kind of a special way of taking these off. Now it's not hard by any stretch of the imagination, but don't just try and take off the carrier and try and hit this off or wedge this off, because you will do damage to the actual handbrake shoes in behind here. It's very simple. I'll show you how to get it off, but before we do that, what we need to do first is we need to take off the caliper. Now they're not wind back, they are push back, and as you can see, you've got hardly any room to get anything in there. So what I like to do is take the caliper off first, and it is a 12mm, and again crack both of them before you undo them. Now, hopefully I didn't get in the way too much there. Now, so this is why it's good to have a couple of different ratchets, because as you can see, I was ratcheting that, but I had it at that angle. So, as you can see again, the ratchet is now straight, but when I turn the handle, I can still ratchet it at that angle. Now, I'm just going to get a little lever bar and just to wedge this out, do it at both ends evenly, and it'll come out. Nice, and as you can see, there is the caliper. Just going to leave that there so it's not hanging down. Now, what I'm going to use to wind back the caliper, just to push back the caliper because it's not a wind back, is I'm going to use my wind back tool, my air one. You can just use a G-clamp or anything like that, it doesn't really matter. It's just I happen to have this to hand, so that's what I'm going to use. So hopefully this is going to come through on camera. I just put it in there. I'm going to press the air, just so the air comes. You can see that going up, hopefully. I'll get a bit better. All it's going to do is, as you can see, push back the piston. Simple. Brilliant. This over here, so it's not going to get the. I've just put that on the actual axle, so we're not putting pressure on the brake line. What I need to do first is put that down there instead. These pads are very well stuck in there. Another good thing to do is check, like I do on all my videos, the actual little pins that hold the caliper on. Make sure they're nice and loose. As you can see, these really are nice and loose, but I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to take them off, clean them and re-grease them. I show it in all my videos, and I've done a separate video on it, so you'll get the idea. And I also did it on the front one, so it's going to be exactly the same way. All I'm doing is just trying to get these pads out, because they are wedges in the back. Wedge this out. As we can see, we're out. Now what we need to do is take off the carrier, which is 14mm bolts. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you, but you'll know. I'll show you once I get them off, and you'll be able to see, obviously when you're doing it yourself, exactly where they are. So these can be tight. Oh, that's tight. Too tight. Now it's important to know, if you do have a tight bolt, make sure your ratchet or your socket is all the way on, because it doesn't take much for it to slip and round it, and once it's done that, you could be in a lot more trouble trying to get it off. Now, we've got them off. Once I take off the carrier, you'll see where the 2 bolts are, right there. And these were the things I was telling you on to take out. So basically all you do is it just pulls out, give that a good clean with the wire brush, re-grease it, pop it back in, push it in like that, simple as that, and it's done. So I'm just going to do that now. I might as well do that just to show you. So I'm taking it out, I'm going to clean it with the wire brush and new greaser. Now the grease I'm using is grease from a CV joint. Do not use copper grease. Do both sides obviously. Just push it straight back down. As you can see, it's all nicely. Do both sides and also do the far side, even if they're not stuck. Now obviously if they are stuck, that kind of goes without saying. But keeping them this way will make your brakes wear nice and even and give you a brake pedal and absolutely everything. Because if these are seized, you can put brand new brakes on and you still feel like you haven't really got a proper brake. Your brake pedal's really hard because these are seized. So it's always a good thing to do that. Now, before we get back onto that, with these, this disc should come off literally by hand, nice and easy. You shouldn't have to hit this disc off with a hammer unless you have, let's get it a bit, you can see it all, unless you have something kind of broken here. But this should just come off nice and easy. But the way to take it off properly, I have a special screwdriver made for the job. So it's an old screwdriver I basically bent, as you can see. On certain ones, the bent screwdriver just kind of helps a little bit. So I had an old flat blade screwdriver which I just literally bent. First thing I want to do is take off this little rubber grommet. Now, this is a bit I'm not going to be able to show you on camera until I take it off. But inside there somewhere is a little wheel that allows me to loosen the shoes and tighten the shoes. Now, I'm going to have to find it. It's normally either at the bottom or just to the side, depending on the vehicle. And this one, a minute, can be a bit of a pain to see. Now this one is right there, just off to the side. Once I get this off, I'll show you with the disc. But if you go the wrong way, the disc won't spin anymore. So just, I don't know exactly which way to go until I actually do it myself, but I think it's, see, that's getting looser now. So all I'm doing is lifting this little wheel up. Now that feels quite loose. All I'm going to do, a couple of light bangs. Now I'm not hitting that off, I'm just hitting it to loosen it. As we can see, it's getting loose, but we're still not there yet. So, just get your torch. Because obviously you're going to have all rust and stuff in and around here, so I was just loosening the rust. I wasn't forcing it off with the hammer, because that's not what you want to do. Problem is now, it's that all the brake dust is in on it, and it's kind of hard to see where the little wheel's gone. The brake dust is just all smoked up inside, so I can't quite see where the little wheel is gone. Now, got it back. So again, I'm just going to keep screwing it up. Still not there yet. The little adjuster screw will make a lot more sense once I get this actually off to show you. Now what we could have problems with, if you've got a lip, again I'll show you on the inside of this disc, this what could be also causing us a problem. But we'll just keep adjusting it all the way in. Now I can't adjust that anymore. That is down to the end, so that bottom adjuster basically opens and closes, and the further it opens, the more the shoes pull against the actual side of the drum. This is now all the way in, so if this doesn't come off quite easy, I've either got maybe a bit more rust and crud around here, or I've got a lip inside the actual disc itself. If you've got a lip inside the disc, that is much harder to take off, which it does kind of feel like I do. So what I'm going to do again, now if you are hitting it, be careful you don't hit your studs. Now again, I'm not hitting this off, so I'm not forcing it that way, which is what you don't want to do. All this is doing is just going to be loosening all the crud and crap that's in and around been built up. And hopefully that's all we need to actually get this thing off. You can hear all the crap going around. Now unfortunately we must have a lip on the actual inner disc itself. You can see all the dust and crap that's falling down. It could just be that, but normally, to be fair, these do just fall off in your hand. Once you've loosened that little screw or the little adjuster down here, these just fall off. And if they don't, like I said, you've got other problems. Now, there is two little holes where you can put little, I think M8s or M10 bolts through it, and it pulls it off. But the problem with that is, the reason why I don't like doing it is because them bolts will keep screwing, and fair enough, this will come out, but you could be causing damage in behind. You could be pulling all your brake shoes and everything apart, and you can't really tell you're doing it. So I personally don't like using them, but that is another way. But I like to do it this way, because at least I know if I do it this way, once I get off, I'm not going to do any damage to anything else. Now, if you're replacing the brake shoes, well, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're not, like we're not, in this time, it does matter. As we can see, we are getting looser. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep hitting this, basically turn it around, hitting it, and just trying to get it off. Once I got it off, I'll turn the camera back on and I'll show you what's behind it. Now I've got it off, but what I want to show you is this is the new disc. And as you can see, when you look inside, this is the part here where the actual shoes are going to sit. And as you can see, there's no lip there. It's smooth, because obviously this is a brand new disc. So you'd kind of expect that. The problem with this is, like I said, we do have a lip. I'll just get you a bit closer. And like I also said, is do not use these screw holes here. And I'm going to get people, oh, that's what they're designed for. Yes, that's what they are designed for, granted. But with that lip on the back of this disc, if you use these bolts to pull the actual disc out, well, you're going to be pulling the brake shoes along with you. And that can cause damage, and I'll show you what I mean. You have little clips here, which you might not be able to see, which hold the brake shoes on to the actual car. Now all these clips, if you're pulling this brake disc, because you got it caught behind the lip of the disc, you will break everything around you. And with them two little bolts, you can't tell if you're actually doing that. So that's why I don't like doing it. So comment as you will. Now, this is the inside of the disc, and hopefully that's coming through. You can see, for a start, obviously it's very rusty, which isn't good, but there's a huge lip right there. Just see where my finger is, and it's about maybe, I don't know, 1 mil, 1.5 mil, which doesn't sound a lot, but believe me, that's huge. And that gets in behind the shoes and that's what actually does the damage. Now, the reason why that was this rusty, where the other side was more or less practically new inside this part, is we've obviously got a problem somewhere in here. Now, what I think it most probably is that these wasn't adjusted correctly, because the handbrake and everything else did kind of feel fine. It doesn't seem like the handbrake's sticking, so I'm not really going down the handbrake route. You can pull the handbrake to see if this pulls and releases. If it doesn't pull and release, you know, maybe your handbrake cable seized. But I know we've got no problem like that with this particular one. It's always good to check these things. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to blow all the crap out here. As actual brake shoes, the brake shoes are very, very good. There's nothing wrong with them. They only, like I said, all they do is just hold the car on the handbrake. So these do kind of last for a while. These normally go old and crack before they actually break. I've never really seen ones, well, I have a few times, but very mainly they're just gone old, worn and gone hard, more so than actually worn down to the metal. So that's what you want to check. So we know everything's okay here. Now this is the little adjuster, you can hopefully see that. And what I was doing, through the disc, I was just pushing this wheel down. That's coming through. So now what I've got to do is I've got to push the wheel back up, which will open it, and that's what will make me able to adjust my handbrake properly. So that's just a good thing, just to check, you know, that you don't have any problems in and around here, because if you do, you're going to put the new parts on, you're just going to have the same problems again. But we're good. So what I'm going to do now is put the new disc on. Now the first thing I've done is I've cleaned the brake disc, because you get all this kind of special oil on to stop it from going rusty. So I've used brake cleaner on all the parts on the inside and everything. Now what we need to do is basically make sure we get it on right. Now this one you can't really go wrong. On some of them there's a big hole here where you actually adjust your brakes through. As you can see, the big hole is here and it's nowhere near the actual hub itself. But if there was one on the hub, make sure you line the disc up with the one on the hub. This disc, we're okay. We can literally put this on. It doesn't matter now. See how easy that came off? That's basically, once you've loosened that, that's how easy they should come off. You should never really have to use these here. If you're using these, you've got a problem, and I can assure you, if you've got a problem, you use them, 99% of the time you're going to do damage. So I suggest not to use it. Now, there is other problems where you could have where the handbrake is seized and all the hubs are seized on. Then you have to use them, but then you have to replace everything anyway. So it doesn't really make a difference if you break things. I'm just talking in a normal case, if you don't want to replace anything inside there, do not use them. End of story. Right, what we've got to do now is, because if we leave this like that, again, we're not going to have a handbrake properly. And we're going to go all rusty inside there. So we have to adjust these properly. And the way to do it, again, is find out exactly, now that's where my little wheel is. And what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to tighten this all the way till I can't adjust it anymore. And all the time keeping the disc in and straight. And just turn this wheel. It can be quite difficult. You just can't really see exactly where you're going. Now I think I'm adjusting it, but now it depends on the car to whether it's up or down. Each car is different, and sometimes even you can have a left and a right thread on opposite ends of the car, so you just have to kind of guess really. Once you know you're moving, you're okay. Now that is not adjusting for me, so I'm just going to open it to see which way I need to adjust it. Now I need to adjust it, so I need to push the spring down. the little wheel down, and I know it's adjusted. That's another thing I meant to say, make sure it's adjusted. And I know it is. Hope this will go back on. I haven't done that much, but at least I now definitely know which way to go. I'm trying to do it once it's on here. It is annoying. Right, what I'm going to do is, because I need to step in front of the camera now, once I got this tight, I'll show you what to do after that. Now it's just so much easier because I had to basically stand in front to get to it. Now what you want to do is you want to keep going all the way until the disc won't move, until you've basically locked the disc. Because if you get this wrong, if you get it too tight, like it is now, it will overheat and you'll destroy the disc, you'll destroy everything. You get it too loose and it vibrates like crazy. So you're going down the road and it's vibrating. Right, so the way to do this, what you have to be careful of, if you get this wrong, if you get it too tight like it is now, it will overheat. Too loose and it vibrates. I've turned that all the way to the wheel is locked, I can't move it. And what I want to do now is just slacken it off one tooth at a time, just until this starts moving. What you have to be careful is when you put the screwdriver or whatever you're using, sometimes you can think you've made a click, but all you've done is slipped off the tooth. So all I'm going to do is just go one click. Now, that is now perfect. That's just binding. So it's easy to turn. I can turn it in one hand, but it's just a bit, you can feel the brakes are just binding on it, which is perfect. Because that means now it won't vibrate. After a couple of miles down the road, that will kind of burn itself off and it'll fit lovely to the disc. So that's what you want, just that kind of, just binding, but not too rough. So that's it there now, that's that done. Simple as that. What you want to do is just put this little rubber grommet back as well, just save all the dust and everything going in. Now what we need to do is put the carrier back on. Before you put the carrier back on, obviously you've greased all them up. I'm just going to wire brush where the actual brake pads sit into the brake carrier. So I've wire brushed them, and as you can see, I've put copper grease in where everything is. Just easier to put it on now than it is to put it when the disc is on, because if you put it when the disc is on, you can get copper grease on the disc. It just means you have to clean it. Not really a big deal, but it just kind of helps. So what I'm going to do now is put the two 14mm bolts back on in the back, so hold the carrier on, just make sure it's lined up. Now tighten these up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the discs, I'm just going to put a little bit of copper grease just on the edges before I put anything in the middle. Now I've basically done this already on the brake carrier, but it's no harm to do it again. The reason why I don't like to put any copper grease here at the minute is because obviously you can see I'm holding it with my hands, and when you put it in, the last thing you want to do is transfer grease from your hands to the actual brake disc, because if you miss it, you know, you're going to have trouble braking. So that's the way I like to do it. Now once it's in, you can put copper grease on it all over, and it means your hands haven't got destroyed, and you can't really get copper grease on your discs. Now copper grease on it again, sorted. Now it's a good thing once you've done one brake to go into the car, once you've got it complete, and pump the brake pedal, just so you get the brake pedal to rise back up, because the brake pedal, you'll basically have no brake pedal until you do this, because you've pushed the pistons all the way back. But do it after every time you've done a brake. And don't forget, you know, pump it, this is with the engine off, pump it after you've done them all as well, just before you set off, because if you set off, you'll have no brakes. And believe me, even at 10 miles an hour, it's amazing how fast the car goes with no brakes. So all I'm going to do is just tighten the two 12mm back on the caliper. Now, we are done. Always a good thing just to double check, just turn it by hand, make sure you got no grease anywhere. And I don't think that's coming through on camera, but it's a little bit rough. You can kind of hear the shoes kind of rubbing, which is absolutely perfect. And that's it. All I've got to do is put the wheel back on, and that's basically it. So we've done front pads and discs and rear pads and discs on this 2007 Toyota Corolla 1.4 BVTI. And that's it. Simple as that, really. So look, hope to help. Thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.